suara gue. Kedengarannya, oke. Jadi mungkin gue langsung aja ya sama soal-soalnya. Oke, jadi gue share screen dulu ya. Oke, jadi pertama-tama halo semuanya, kenalin nama gue Eric dari IE angkatan 2020 dan hari ini gue bakal jelasin dan ngerjain soal UAS PE1 tahun lalu. Jadi tahun pas gue masih maba. Oke, jadi langsung mulai aja ya sama soalnya. Mungkin karena soalnya juga cukup banyak ini tadi gue lihat soal esainya tuh ada 7. Gue bakal bahas yang soal esai dulu kali ya. Dan yang pilihan ganda juga udah gue jawab, ada juga di file ini. Dan mungkin kalau misalnya nanti nggak sempet, student bisa share juga ke kalian. Oke, jadi langsung aja ya. Dan karena ini ACE tutoring, gue milihnya yang soalnya yang bahasa Inggris aja. Dan mungkin kalau kalian mau cari yang bahasa Indonesia itu ada di ya bisa di follow juga pakai itu. Oke, jadi langsung aja ya nomor 1. Jadi di sini nomor 1 itu list and describe the characteristics of a perfectly competitive market. Nah, gimana cara jawab soal ini? Jadi mungkin ini basic sih. Jadi apalagi karena ini kalian kan masih open book. Jadi tinggal lihat di buku characteristics of a perfectly competitive market. Dan di sini gue udah list sih. Intinya there are many buyers and sellers in the market. Each company makes a similar product. Buyers and sellers have access to perfect information about price. No barriers to entry and exit. Dan yang terakhir, companies cannot determine prices. Sebenarnya ini soal 1A ini bisa dianggap sebagai pembuka untuk soal berikutnya. Kalau ini biasanya ini dijawab dulu, nanti lanjut ke 1B. Mungkin kalau ada pertanyaan langsung aja kali ya. Oke, jadi 1A udah. Kita lanjut ke 1B. Oke. 1B itu pertanyaannya, use a graph to demonstrate the circumstances that would prevail in a perfectly competitive market when firms earn economic profit. Will this condition hold in the long run? Explain your answer. Nah, tadi kita udah jelasin kan, sebenarnya apa itu perfectly competitive market. Pertama ada banyak buyers and sellers in the market, access to perfect information, no barriers to entries and exit, dan companies cannot determine the prices. Nah, jadi ini harus kalian ingat untuk menjawab pertanyaan ini juga gitu. Nah, biasanya kalau misalnya ada pertanyaan kayak gini, gue melihat gue cari the key terms dulu. Jadi misalnya ini kan ada ini kan ada istilah economic profits ya. Nah, economic profits biasanya gue mendefinisikan dulu nih economic profits itu apa. Dan di sini kan terlihat nih, economic profit can be determined as the difference between revenue received from the sale of an output and the cost of all inputs used as well as any opportunity costs. Nah, ini nih yang as well as any opportunity cost ini yang membedakan yang namanya economic profit dan economic profit dan accounting profit. Nah, tapi pertanyaan ini cuma minta economic profit, jadi nggak apa-apa, nggak usah dibahas itu accounting profit itu apa. Nah, ini kan mintakan. Nah, di sini perfectly competitive market. Jadi kita harus jawabnya gimana? Kita bahas yang namanya perfectly competitive market in the short run dan perfectly competitive market in the long run. Nah, ini ada 2 graf yang cukup penting. Kita harus bahas dari segi marketnya dan firmnya. Nah, kalau kelihatan seperti yang terlihat di sini di figure 1 ini gue udah tulis nih di market dan firm. Nah, kalau di firm kalau di firm di firm ini firm 1 here it shows a perfectly competitive market achieving economic profit. Kan udah dibilang kan apa the circumstances that will prevail in a perfectly competitive market where firms earn economic profits. As shown in the diagram, when the market price di sini, when the market price is P1 here, when the market price di sini P1, nah ini at the point where minimum ATC. Nah, tapi di sini terlihat to maximize profit in a perfectly competitive market, firms produce at the point where marginal revenue is equal to marginal cost. Di mana itu? Here, this point. Marginal revenue equals to marginal cost. Nah, the firm makes an economic profit at the point which price is greater than the average total cost. Nah, average total cost di sini, ini di sini. Ini kan kelihatan nih ATC. Nah, kalau kalian dilihat di sini, ini minimum ATC. Nah, bedanya antara minimum ATC sama MC ini adalah economic profit. Nah, tapi apakah economic profit itu akan tetap berlanjut in the long run? Belum tentu nih teman-teman, karena tadi kita balik lagi nih ke sini, characteristics perfect competition itu apa sih? There are many buyers and sellers in the market. Each company makes a similar product. Buyers and sellers have access to perfect information about price. No barriers to entries and exit. Dan companies cannot determine prices. Kenapa companies cannot determine prices? Karena kalau udah ada economic profit seperti ini, karena ada no barriers to entry and exit, berarti firms yang lihat ada economic profit itu pasti mau masuk dong, karena mereka they also want to make money. Jadi once it's been established that there is economic profits, nanti firms will enter. Nah, karena firms enter into the market, jadinya nih, due to economic profits created by firms in the market, new firms will be attracted to join the market, which leads to supply one. Ini kan tadinya supply ini di sini nih. Supply one will shift to supply two. Nah, dari P1 jadi P2 nih di sini. Price will also decrease. Firms will then amass zero economic profit or normal profit. Nih, zero economic profit atau normal profit ini ada di sini, where minimum ATC meets MC and MR di sini. Thus, it can be established that the position will not hold. Mungkin untuk nomor 1 ada pertanyaan sebelum lanjut ke nomor 2. Oke, kalau nggak ada, gue langsung lanjut ke nomor 2 ya. Oke, jadi itu mungkin nomor 1. Oke, nomor 2. Use the graph to explain how profit maximizing monopolists determine its output and price. Is monopoly efficient? If no, how is the economic efficiency of a monopolist measured? Use your graph to explain your answer. Oke, jadi untuk nomor 2 ini this is the graph, dan ini kelihatan ya. Jadi ini equilibrium price, and this is the maximum quantity. Jadi ini graph buat monopolist, dan ini yang profit maximizing monopolist. Jadi how do we establish this graph? Well, the monopolist interested in maximizing profit follows this approach. Jadi profit maximizing is at the level of MC equals to MR. MC equals to MR itu di mana? MC equals to MR di sini. Here. Di sini, and eventually the good or the service is sold at level P equilibrium. Nah, the total profit is shown in the shaded area as monopoly price. Ini kan monopoly price, and yang PE tadi is greater than the minimum ATC. So we can shade in this area, and this area is the total profit. Nah, untuk selanjutnya ini kan ditanya, is monopoly efficient? If no, how is the economic inefficiency of a monopolist measured? Use your graph to explain the answer. Ya, ini harus pakai 2 graf. Ini kan untuk menjelaskan monopolisnya. Nah, ini buat masalah inefficiency-nya. Nah, kalau it's actually the same, tapi it's just jadinya lebih apa ya? It's more specific aja buat yang figure 2 here. Figure 2. Nah, untuk ini di sini kita lihat kan. Jadi kan the presence of deadweight loss in a monopoly shows that there is allocative inefficiency, which is shown by P is great. P here is greater than the level of MC. Nah, at the point of QM, ini QM kan, QM, PM, ini MC. Nah, MC ini kan di sini. Jadi otomatis PM here is greater than MC. Oke, itu semua paham ya. This means that too little of the good is being produced. A monopolist gains at the expense of producers as a portion of consumer surplus is converted into producer surplus. Ini kalau kalian lihat, ini sekarang karena ini merupakan monopolis. Nah, ini jadinya consumer surplus di sini, producer surplus di sini. Jadi lebih menguntungkan untuk producers, dan producers adalah siapa? Producers adalah the firm that is the monopolist. Jadi production in a monopoly, untuk sum up bagian ini, production in a monopoly takes place at the level that is greater than minimum ATC, which means that this is productive inefficiency, and it also takes place at P greater than MC, which is allocative inefficiency. Oke, kalau nggak ada pertanyaan, gue langsung ya ke nomor 3, karena nomor 2 cuma 1. Oke, jadi mungkin untuk nomor 3. Monopolistic competition lies between monopoly and perfect competition. 3A. Use the graph to explain how firms in the monopolistically competitive market determine their profit maximization output and price. Dan B, use a graph to explain differences in the long-term equilibrium of a perfectly competitive firm and a monopolistically competitive firm. Oke, jadi yang A dulu ya. Jadi untuk A, in monopolistic competition, firms aim to maximize profit by producing at the point in which marginal revenue is equal to marginal cost. Di mana itu? Here. It's here. Figure 1 shows that the firm makes a profit because P equilibrium is greater than the average total cost. Average total cost di mana? Ini di sini kan. Minimum average total cost. Gitu. So this is the point where they can maximize their output, their output and price. Okay, untuk B, use the graph to explain differences in the long run equilibrium of a perfectly competitive firm and a monopolistically competitive firm. Nah, kalau ini kita bikin 2 graph kan, karena dia minta dia minta perfect competition, dan dia juga minta monopolistically competitive market. Nah, untuk perfect competition ini gampang karena sini ya. Jadi figure 1 dulu ya. Figure 1 yaitu perfect competition. So figure 1 shows the long-term equilibrium position of a firm in perfect competition. The firm is shown to be earning normal profit. Normal profit itu tadi yang tadi kita bahas juga di soal nomor 1. Indicating that the long-term equilibrium of a perfectly competitive firm is able to achieve both productive and allocative efficiency. Jadi this point here. At profit maximizing level of output QE, PE equilibrium is equal to MC, whilst ATC is at the minimum point. Jadi nah, itu buat yang perfect competition ya. Nah, untuk selanjutnya, figure 2 shows the long-term position of a firm in monopolistic competition. In the long run, profit-making industries attracts new entrants, while some firms will choose to shut down in loss-making industries. The process of entry and exit will lead to firms making normal economic profit, just as in perfectly competitive market. Mungkin gue bahas dulu kali ya, normal profit itu sebenarnya apa sih? Jadi itu normal profit, gue tulisnya di sini. Normal profit, biar kalian tahu aja ya. Normal profit, it can be defined, can can be defined as when the difference between a company's total revenue and combined explicit and implicit costs are equal to 0. Jadi gitu teman-teman. Jadi buat definisi normal profit adalah yang berikut. Nah, mungkin ini kali ya juga untuk explicit cost dan implicit cost atau bedanya. Jadi explicit costs are out-of-pocket costs for a firm. Jadi misalnya contoh example, wages, salary, and rent. Kalau implicit costs ini yang berhubungan dengan specific type of opportunity cost. Opportunity. Jadi the cost of resources owned by the firm that could be put to use elsewhere. Oke, jadi itu normal profit definisinya seperti itu. Nah, ini kan pertanyaannya mintakan use the graph to explain the differences in the long run equilibrium of a perfectly competitive firm and in a monopolistically competitive firm. Sebenarnya here in the introduction ini juga this is mostly membahas apa yang sama kan, karena here we said the process of entry and exit will lead to firms making normal economic profit just as in a perfectly competitive market. Nah, however, ini baru kalian extend lagi jawaban kalian. However, firms in a monopolistically competitive market are not able to achieve both allocative nor productive efficiency. This is because allocative efficiency occurs when P is equal to MC. Jadi P here sama dengan MC. Lost productive efficiency is equal to minimum ATC and monopolistically competitive firms do not meet this condition. Ini kan productive efficiency is equal to minimum ATC ini. Minimum ATC here. Thus, it should be noted that in a monopolistically competitive market, there is the presence of deadweight loss. Deadweight loss itu di mana? It's here. This is deadweight loss. DWL, tadi bisa disingkat jadi DWL. Jadi gitu teman-teman, mungkin ada pertanyaan buat nomor 3A atau 3B. Oke, nggak ada ya. Jadi gue lanjut deh ke nomor 4. Oke, nomor 4. Gojek and Grab are two Southeast Asian super apps company. Grab is a Singapore-based unicorn, whilst Gojek is an Indonesian-based unicorn. Both of them have significant market shares in the ride-sharing industry in Indonesia. Recently, there is a merger issue of the two giant ride-sharing companies in the future. If Gojek and Grab refuse to merge and keep competing, they will spend a lot of money maintaining the market share and attracting new customers. Otherwise, if they agree to do a merger, they benefit from expanding market share and adapting more sophisticated services and technology. However, investors from both sides are aggressively pursuing a deal to run the company. Let us construct a hypothetical game for these companies. If Grab and Gojek refuse the merger agreement, the data reveals that Grab has already seized 64% of Indonesia's market share in 2019. Meanwhile, Gojek only holds 35.5% market share. If both Grab and Gojek deals agree to the merger agreement, the integrated company is projected to hold almost 98% of the market share in Indonesia and acts as a monopoly company. If one of them refuses the merger agreement, then the one who refuses will lose will lose 3% of the market shares, while the other one gains a 1% increase in the market shares using the 2019 data as reference. Based on the information above, answer the following questions. Construct a payoff matrix for this ride-sharing industry using the information that is given. Okay. Jadi, how do we answer this question? Jadi, this is what is called a payoff matrix. Gojek dan Grab. Sebenarnya it can be the other way around. Jadi misalnya kalau kalian mau taruh Grab di sini juga bisa, Gojek di sini bisa. It's really up to you. Nah, we just have to, based on the information here, we can establish what goes where. Okay, jadi mungkin we can start with the easiest one nih, yang langsung from the question, we can already just straight away put it in. Misalnya di sini, if both Grab and Gojek agrees to the merger agreement, nih udah agree. If they both agree, what is it? 98. Nih kan, the integrated company is projected to hold almost 98% of the market share in Indonesia and acts as a monopoly company. So this is the easiest one. Okay, that's the first one ya. So we established this is 98 dan 98. Nah, kalau misalnya here we go to agree and reject. If Grab and Gojek refuse the merger agreement, the data reveals that Grab has already seized 64% of Indonesia's market share in 2019. Both refuse the merger agreement. Grab and Gojek nih, reject ya. So Grab automatically 64 di sini. Meanwhile, Gojek holds a 35.5% market share. So this is 35.5. Gitu. So these two is already udah ya. Jadi ini udah, dari info yang ada di sini langsung bisa dimasukin, ini juga ada di sini. Oke. Nah, if one of them refuses the merger agreement, then the one who refuses will lose 3% of the market share. Jadi misalnya nih, will lose 3% of the market share, while the other one gains 1% increase. Okay, jadi misalnya kalau Gojek reject, it loses berapa tadi? 3% ya. Jadi 35.5 minus 3 is 32.5. Okay, itu udah dapat. Dan while the other one gains a 1% increase in the market shares. Jadi ini 64 tambah 1, 65. Okay. Nah, kalau ini apa? Yang terakhir adalah opsi terakhir adalah Grab reject sama Gojek agree. Nah, kalau Grab reject jadinya 61 kan, 61 minus 3 karena they lose 3, sama kayak yang tadi. They lose 3, 64 to 61. Nah, kalau misalnya karena itu dan karena Gojek agree, nah ini jadinya tambah 1, 35 plus 1 jadi 36.5. Gitu teman-teman. Actually, kalau pertanyaan kayak gini, hopefully you can get full points karena it's just basic math as long as you understand the question. Gitu. Okay, untuk B. The dominant strategy can be defined as the best strategy for a respective player. For a respective player. Nah, baca dulu soalnya. Do the players have a dominant strategy? Explain. Oke, biasanya again, as I've done in previous questions, gue tuh biasanya seneng mendefinisikan dulu sebelum gue menjawab. Jadi kalau ada key term kayak gini, nih key termnya kan dominant strategy ya, gue bakal mendefinisikan dulu nih secara jelas dominant strategy itu apa sih. Nah, yang pertama, the dominant strategy can be defined as the best strategy for a respective player, irrespective of the strategies chosen by others. Itu definisi untuk dominant strategy, atau in other words, a dominant strategy is a strategy that is best for a player in a game regardless of the strategies chosen by the other players. Jadi maybe, I think you should get the point sih. Nah, dominant strategy untuk Gojek dan Grab itu apa? Terlepas dari apapun, dominant strategy for Gojek is to agree to the merger. Kenapa? Karena kalau they agree, they will always get a larger share of the market. Karena kalau misalnya untuk ini nih ya, kalau misalnya say that Grab always reject. Nah, kalau Grab selalu reject, it will always be better for it will be better for Gojek to agree, karena ini 36.5. Kalau misalnya mereka reject ya, they'll lose out here, ya kan. Nah, sedangkan kalau misalnya Grab here, if Grab agree, then and Gojek also agree, will end up with 98. Nah, here 98 and 36.5. Gitu. There's always the alternative for agreeing always means that Gojek will end up with a greater market share, no matter what Grab does, no matter what Grab decides to do. Sama juga, the dominant strategy for Grab is also to always to agree to the merger, because if Grab agree here, misalnya di sini, this is 65 compared to 64, ini 98 compared to 61. So all in all, it can be said that the dominant strategy for both companies is to agree to the merger. Jadi sebenarnya in a real life situation nih, kalau misalnya kayak gini, the most likely outcome would be for all of them to would be for this outcome to happen. Why? Because no matter what, it's always beneficial for both of them just to agree, and if they both agree, this will occur. Gitu. Okay, C. Is there any Nash equilibrium in this game? Explain. Nah, again, what I like to do is biasanya I define the key terms dulu. Jadi misalnya di sini, Nash equilibrium can be defined as the combination of strategies in which economic actors is making the best choice for themselves given the choices of all other parties. The Nash equilibrium, kayak tadi gue bilang, the Nash equilibrium for this situation would be for both firms to agree to the merger, meaning that they have a market share of 98% each here. Itu. Mungkin ada pertanyaan? Oke, nggak ada ya. Langsung lanjut ke nomor 5. The following table shows the data of PT Kiki Jaya, a small competitive profit-maximizing firm that produces pencils for students. The firm sells each box of pencil that it produces for 4,000 rupiah and pays wage per worker for 420,000 per day. Assume that labor is the only variable input in the firm. Here. Calculate the value of marginal product of labor and complete the following table. Jadi di sini info yang kita dikasih info number of workers dan marginal product of labor, dan dari sini kita harus dapetin value of marginal product of labor. Caranya gimana? Value of marginal product of labor itu adalah P multiplied by MPL. Jadi ini kan udah dikasihkan. The firm sells each box of pencil that it produces for 4,000 rupiah. 4,000. Ini udah 1,000, jadi you can just ignore this. Jadi 4 deh. Jadi nanti kalinya 4. Oke, jadi misalnya here 147 kali 4. 81. So we just check the first one there. This times 4 is this. Nanti you just repeat the same process for all of the other answers to VMPL ini. Nanti ini kali 4 dan keempat dan so on. Itu untuk dapetin value of marginal product of labor. Nomor 1 itu cuma gitu doang sih. It's quite simple. Okay. B. How many workers at PT Kiki Jaya should be hired to maximize its profit? Nah, the total number of workers will maximize profit when VMPL is equal to W. W apa? Wage W ini nih. Wage per worker 420,000 per day. Nah, kalau 420,000, the total number of workers will maximize profit when VMPL is equal to W. Labor wage berapa tadi? 420,000. Nah, 420 kita tinggal cari nih di sini. Ini 420. 420 terjadi ketika kapan? Ketika ada number of workersnya 3. Gitu. Jadi apa? Jawabannya thus 3 workers should be hired. Itu. Oke. Dan nah sekarang tinggal 5C. Use the graph to explain your answer. Ini sebenarnya gampang. All you have to do is plot your graph dari VMPL dan labor nih di sini. Jadi misalnya ini tadi kan 588, this is 588, this is 429, not 492, 420, 380, 360. Nah, tinggal gitu doang. And all you have to do is plot, and then you get a curve. Itu. Oh ya, and then show, jangan lupa tunjukin profit maximization itu di mana. Itu. Ada pertanyaan untuk nomor 5? Oke, mungkin nggak ada ya. Nomor 6. Textile industry is being accused as the main contributor of water pollution along the Citarum River in West Java. The polluted Citarum River imposes extra costs on people who live along the river banks. 6A. Draw the market equilibrium level of output and price of textile in the absence of externality. Use the graph to explain in what way market failure occurs and how it should be corrected. Nah, di sini untuk nomor 6 kita bikin nih 2 graf. Kalau gue biasanya bikin 2 graf sih, tapi sebenarnya dulu teman-teman gue juga banyak yang cuman bikin negative, cuma bikin 1 yang kayak ini nih, yang kayak figure 2 nih, negative production externalities. Karena kan pertanyaannya kan sebenarnya intinya tuh tentang ini ya. Cuman what I did was dulu tuh gue tuh juga bikin yang no externalities buat jelasin perbedaannya. Gitu. Oke, jadi ini di sini ya. Market failure can be defined as the situation in which there is inefficient distribution of goods and services in the free market. Again, seperti biasa, gue tuh biasanya I pick out the key terms, dan the key term di sini adalah market failure. Jadi didefinisikan dulu sebelum kalian menjawab pertanyaannya. Figure 1 nih gue jelasin. Figure 1 shows the market equilibrium level with no externalities. It shows the socially optimum point and allocative efficiency. Figure 1, this is considered to be POPT. This is POPT itu maksudnya optimum price. And QOPT. QOPT itu apa? Optimum quantity. The socially optimum point refers to the best situation from the perspective of allocative efficiency. However, in this case, there are externalities as the textile industry contributes to water pollution in the Citarum River. Kan ini udah bilang kan, it's polluted. Polluted berarti apa? Polluted berarti ada negative externalitiesnya. Nah, in figure 2, which describes di sini nih negative production externalities, it shows the supply curve of S equals to MPC, which reflects the firm's private cost of production, whilst MSC, marginal social cost, shows the full cost to society. This difference has created a welfare loss. Jadi ini ya, MPC, marginal private cost, and marginal social cost. Jadi di sini tuh social cost-nya so the cost that is experienced by the environment and the people outside of the company itu lebih besar daripada marginal private cost-nya. Marginal private cost maksudnya apa? It's the cost that the company bears. Nah, dari sini nih kita bisa dapat nih external cost-nya. External cost-nya adalah perbedaan antara ini MSC dan MPC gitu. And this is where kita juga dapat nih yang namanya welfare loss gitu, due to the misallocation of resources. Nah, pertanyaannya juga tanyakan, how should it be corrected nih? How it should be corrected? Karena dia nanya how it should be corrected. Kita harus tambahin juga, in order to fix this issue, the government can implement market-based policies or government regulations. For example, the government could look to impose an indirect tax on pollutants or set a limit on the amount of pollutants emitted. Policies such as these would reduce the external costs to society. Kalau kalian tahu ada istilah namanya internalizing the externality. Jadi externality-nya adalah apa tadi? Externality-nya itu yang the cost that is faced by society. Nah, internalizing maksudnya itu jadinya di-experience oleh perusahaannya itu sendiri, the firm itself. Jadi to sum it up, how can you solve this? Government regulations yang dikenal sebagai command approach, atau you can adopt market-based policies, which is dengan adopt trade taxes or tradable permits. Nah, sebenarnya ya kalau misalnya if you want to go in deeper, you can also extend by explaining advantages dan disadvantages-nya apa. Nah, sebenarnya kalau you can add that as well. So then, tapi it's not really apa ya? Yeah, it's not really necessary sih sebenarnya. Gitu. Oke. Jadi untuk B, suppose there are 3 firms operating their textile factories near the area. Their initial pollution level and their cost of reducing pollution are shown in the table below. Ini firm A, initial pollution level 100, cost of reducing pollution by 1 unit 10. And so on. Suppose that the newly elected governor of West Java urges to reduce pollution at the Citarum River to 210 units, permitting each firm to pollute up to 70 units. The provincial government is considering to issue 210 tradable pollution permits of 1 ton each, which will be distributed equally among firms. Determine which firm will buy the permit and which firm will sell it. Also determine the optimum price and calculate the cost of pollution reduction. Oke, kita ya kalau gue tulis ulang ya grafnya tabelnya. Kan tadi kita dikasih initial pollution unit level sama cost of reducing pollution by 1 unit. Nah, kelewat. Oke, di sini kita tulis dulu nih permit sama excess pollution. Excess pollution kita dapatnya gimana? Initial pollution level minus permit. Nah, 100 minus 70, 30. 140 minus 70, 70, 80 minus 70, 10. Itu kan, kalau misalnya kita mau dapat yang tadi excess pollution, which we'll need now. Jadi, cost of pollution reduction gimana cara kita dapetinnya? A kali, di sini ya, A for firm A adalah hasilnya adalah 30 kali 10. Jadi ini excess pollution tadi kali 10, 30. Nah, and then you repeat the same procedure every time. 70 kali 15 dan 10 kali 5. Apa hasilnya? 1,040. Ini kan 1,040 ini tadi ya. Ini berapa? Million, jadi 1.4 billion rupiah. Gitu, teman-teman. Mungkin buat 6B ada pertanyaan? Kalau nggak ada, gue langsung ya ke nomor 7. Pertanyaan terakhir buat yang essay. Oke, nomor 7. Kerto Raharjo, a medium-sized village inhabited by 100 families, owns a vast open prime grazing land of 30,000 meters squared. Currently, the village council allows all residents to graze cows and goats freely. The small livestock census that the village council do every year shows that there are currently 25 cows and 75 goats owned by the village residents. Jadi, untuk 7A, the new village council worries that the land will eventually be overgrazed, as the census shows an annual growth of livestock of 5% within the last 5 years. One council member suggests that villagers should be advised to use the land sparingly while also help cultivating the grass to preserve the sustainability of the land. Do you think the council's fear of overgrazing is likely to be true? Do you think the council member's suggestion will work? Explain your answer. Oke, jadi ini pertanyaan yang cukup ini ya, it's quite wordy. Jadi mungkin we can break it down. Intinya dia maunya apa? Ini ngomongin sustainability. It's talking about overgrazing. Dan nanti kita juga harus jawab tentang suggestionnya dia, which is advised to use the land sparingly while also help cultivating the grass. Gitu. Okay, because we have those three concepts, let's try answer the question. The vast open prime grazing land in Kerto Raharjo can be considered as a common access resource. Jadi apa itu common access resource? We'll define it next. A common access resource can be defined as a resource that is not owned by anyone, are available for anyone to use without payment, and also do not have a price set by the market. Common access resource. Jadi mungkin contohnya, kalau misalnya kalian mau search di Google itu pasti dikasih tahu. Jadi contoh-contoh common access resource bisa ditambah di mana ya? Di sini aja deh. Common access resource examples. Access resource examples itu they're usually forests, national parks, dan these are just a few ya. Dan grazing lands. Dan ini soalnya bahas ini kan grazing. Jadi udah otomatis karena this is a very well-known example of common access resource. Jadi udah pasti what this question wants you to answer is answer the concept of common access resources. Nah, common access resources are actually a representation of a type of market failure. Kenapa? Karena they are both revolvers, which is a characteristic of a private good, and they're also non-excludable. Jadi karena kita ini deh, jadi kalian ngerti konsepnya. Jadi private good itu has ini aja deh. Private goods have a number of characteristics. Yang pertama adalah itu tadi excludability. Terus yang kedua tadi revolvers. Nah, kalau public goods a number of characteristics. Kalau ini non-excludable, non-excludable and non-revolvers. Nah, kelihatan kan kalau ditulis kayak gini, masalahnya di mana? Why it represents a market failure? Karena private common access resources are revolvers, and they're also non-excludable. Jadi you cannot prevent people from taking, cannot stop people from using the good. But reverse itu maksudnya how do I put it into words? Reverse itu type of good ini, type of good that can only be possessed or consumed by one user. Jadi maksudnya ini aduh jadinya berantakan sih, tapi if one person uses that good, it prevents another person from using it. Gitu. Jadi why does this result in market failure? Kita tuh nggak bisa, we cannot stop people from using the good, but if one person uses the good, it prevents another person from using it. Terjadilah di sini market failure. And as kan ini soalnya kan membahas ini ya, grazing land ini. This poses a serious risk to the environment. Jadi ini tadi, the non-excludability aspect of the resource means that producers and consumers can use them in abundance. Kayak tadi yang gue udah bilang kan, often until the point of overuse, as the resource does not have a price. Jadi tuh orang tuh bakal pakai terus gitu. Karena kan as we know in economics kan katanya what motivates humans is greed kan. And because they're motivated by greed, this is free, there's no price, and they can use it in abundance. Jadinya ya terjadilah overuse itu tadi. Nah, suggestionnya, one council member suggests that the villagers should be advised to use the land sparingly while also help cultivating the grass to preserve the sustainability of the land. Council suggests advising villagers to think sustainably. Masalahnya ini adalah it's just a suggestion. It's just a suggestion. It's not a policy, and it's not a policy, and it's not it's not implemented by the government. Gitu. Jadi we can say the suggestion may not work because there is no price on the good, meaning that people will use it until they are content with what they had. Nevertheless, this is not good for society karena apa yang akan terjadi adalah depletion dan environmental degradation. Gitu teman-teman. Mungkin buat yang itu that was quite long, ada yang mau tanya dulu nggak? Oke, nggak ada ya. Oke, buat B, another council member suggests that the council should charge the grazers based on the amount of grazing their cows and or goats do. This refers to the billing mechanism of electricity or water supply consumption. Meanwhile, the youngest council member suggests that the council should require grazers to purchase an annual grazing permit based on the number of cows and goats owned. Do you think any of these two suggestions would be effective in preserving the land? Okay, jadi what this does is sebenarnya what these suggestions do, what they both do, ini sebenarnya they put a price on using the land. Jadi itu it's not free anymore. Ini kan should charge. They charge. Jadi they have to pay it. Then the youngest council member suggests they should require to purchase. Jadi itu udah pasti lah. Jadi they have to pay. It's not free anymore. Then that takes out the fact that they are non-excludable. Jadi itu buat misalnya buat 6B, jadinya they're excludable karena you have to pay kan. It cannot be used for everyone. Itu. Jadi this should help solve the market failure problem. Karena they put a price on the land. Jadinya these approaches may work as the people will be more mindful of using the land and treat it as just as they do with other goods that have a price. It just becomes like any other good. both of the suggestions are market-based solutions, market-based policies, meaning that they give an incentive for those that wish to graze using the land to think whether it is worth using it. But nevertheless, biasanya, tapi you don't have to add this sih. Tapi waktu tahun kemarin tuh gue selalu tambahin sih the downside. Ya, terusnya di mana? Sini deh. B. You can add sih. Misalnya, nevertheless, jadi abis kalian tuh udah jelasin kenapa jelasin nih tentang market-based policies, why these two suggestions are market-based policies, nah kalian bisa tambahin. Nevertheless, the negative side, the negative side of this may be that people would make income elsewhere, and this would be detrimental to the prosperity of the village. Nah, karena jadinya mereka harus bayar, it actually may mean that many people yang tadinya they could access this for free, terus they could be productive with it, terus nanti kan kalau misalnya they use the land to graze livestock, nanti hasil dari livestocknya itu nanti bisa dijual apa. Nah, kalau misalnya harus bayar, itu kan jadinya not everyone can use it anymore kan. Karena not everyone can use it anymore, yang tadinya yang tadinya their standard of living was lifted, mereka jadi makin prosperous, they don't have access to that anymore. Nah, you can actually add sih. Tahun kemarin sih gue tambahin alasan ini. Jadi the overall prosperity of the village it might go down karena there will be some people yang they don't get the chance to use the land anymore. Gitu teman-teman buat nomor 7B. Ada yang mau bertanya? Oke, kalau misalnya nggak ada yang mau bertanya, mungkin buat hari ini itu dulu kali ya. Buat yang pilihan ganda ini gue udah tambahin nih jawabannya. Nanti gue share file ini ke Studev. Kalau misalnya kalian ada yang mau tanya untuk pilihan ganda, karena ini banyak banget ya. Jadi kalau misalnya dijelasin satu persatu itu pasti cukup lama. Nah, ini gue udah cek ini jawaban-jawabannya, jawaban gue, jawaban teman gue dan lain sebagainya. Terus ya udah akhirnya gue dapet ini. This is the final answer sheet sih sebenarnya. Kalau misalnya kalian pakai ujian tahun kemarin, which I strongly recommend for all of you to do untuk latihan, this is the answer scheme. Kalau misalnya kalian mau tanya, nanti PC gue aja juga nggak apa-apa banget sih sebenarnya. Oke, jadi mungkin buat ACE tutoring PS1 buat UAS kali ini udah kali ya. Thank you semua kalau nggak ada pertanyaan.
Oke, thank you Kak Eric buat materinya. Thank you juga buat yang udah datang. Nanti recordingnya bakal diupload di YouTube kita, ACE FEBUI, dan materinya juga bakal bisa diakses di ACE Study Kit Drive yang nanti juga bisa kita share. Nah, thank you ya semuanya.
Thank you juga, Studev.